Greetings, adventurers! Welcome to our new cooking series, Alpine Grove Artisans Guild. Today we're going to share a recipe with you, but first I wanted to introduce you all to our resident bard, Polly Darton.
Hi y'all, I'm Polly Darton. It's nice to be here with you today, but really in real life my name is Amy. I'm Rachel's friend. Nice to meet you.
And she is an awesome D&D player who does play the bard at our table, and she's got some pretty cool musical talent. Maybe if she drinks enough wine, you'll hear some of that later. But today we are going to be cooking for you. So this recipe that we're going to be preparing, it is going to be a favorite for most of our dwarven followers. It's very earthy, very good for autumn. It is a side dish. So what we're going to be making is going to be a roasted Brussels sprout and chestnut dish. So we're going to dive right in here and teach you all how to properly prepare these roasted chestnuts to make a beautiful dish for your own D&D adventure. So we're going to jump right in to how to make these chestnuts, because I don't know about y'all, but when I first heard chestnuts, I thought of water chestnuts, and that sounded kind of gross. But don't worry, this is much different, much tastier. So we're going to show you how to prepare these chestnuts. They do take longer, so we're going to start with that as opposed to starting with the Brussels sprouts. So the first thing we'll need to do is go ahead and preheat our oven to 425 for these. So we'll let Amy do that here. All right, so now that our oven is preheated, we're going to get our chestnuts ready. So first, we're just going to move the stalk of Brussels sprouts out of the way. We don't really need that yet. As I said, this is going to take a lot longer. So what we're going to need to get this started is just going to be a cutting board. All of our chestnuts, you'll notice, they're going to have a flat side. So we're going to put that flat side down. And then it's really important that we're going to score our chestnuts because they can't explode in your oven. It's not a great thing. So to score our chestnuts, we're going to use just a nice, sharp, small knife. And we're going to go ahead and just cut right across the top. We're going to make sure we get all the way through the skin there so the steam can escape when it's in the oven. And we're just going to give it a nice X right across the top of it here. Amy's also much more responsible with a knife than me, so I'm going to let her go ahead and try on a couple of them. And then once we've got our nicely scored chestnut, we're going to go ahead, we're just going to put it on just a standard baking pan. Again, we're going to go ahead and just do the flat side down on that baking pan. And we're going to set it over here while we wait for the oven to preheat. So it is going to take us a little while to get through scoring all of these. But don't worry, if you are playing any kind of a caster class, you can always just cast Mage Hand and make that do the work for you. Just kidding. Okay, perfect. And once we are all done scoring our chestnuts, they look pretty much like this. As you can see, we got a little overly aggressive with some of our cuts there, but not a problem. We're just going to be peeling these anyways. And at this point, our oven is preheated. So we're going to go ahead and pop those in so that we can start on getting our Brussels sprouts ready. So I'm just going to go ahead and move these into the oven here. We are going to just do the middle rack, and this is going to take about 20 to 30, maybe even 40 minutes in the oven. So we've got plenty of time to start on our Brussels sprouts. Okay, now that our chestnuts are in the oven, as I mentioned, we do need to let those roast for about 20 minutes is the norm. They can take a little more, a little less time, but 20 minutes, give or take, is what we're going to do. So that gives us a perfect amount of time to get our Brussels sprouts all ready. So do you want to grab our stock? We did buy our Brussels sprouts on the stalk, just like our forager friends in medieval days would have been finding them. So when you do get them this way, actually really easy. We're just going to grab one and twist from the base to go ahead and just pull that right off. And then we do want to rinse these though. We're not heathens. So do you mind grabbing the colander? So we're going to go ahead and just pull these off, start putting them right into our colander here.
Now, alternatively, if you wanted to grab a knife, you could grab a knife and just cut them off. They come off easily.
I do think my way is more fun, but technically she's right, I guess, if you want to do it that way. All right, so Amy is rinsing those off for us, getting it nice and clean. But if you are watching at home and if you are also going to be cooking this recipe with a friend, please avoid making the same mistakes we did and actually get 2 of these, because then once you've pulled all the Brussels sprouts out, you could have a sword fight. I mean, we can't because I only got 1. But all right, so now we've got these ready. So now it's just time to dress them. So for this specific recipe, we are going to be dressing it with olive oil. I'm a fan of garlic, so we are using a garlic olive oil, but of course, feel free to use just a regular standard olive oil. We're also going to be using a balsamic glaze over these, and then a touch of salt. But we are going to wait until our chestnuts are ready so we can peel those, dress everything together, and then just toast it one last time before tossing it all together. So we'll be right back as soon as our chestnuts are ready to be peeled. All right, adventurers, so our chestnuts are done, possibly overdone, but we don't need to talk about that. So we are gonna get ready to peel all of these and start mixing them with our Brussels sprouts. But first, we do need our Brussels sprouts to be at least slightly toasted. So we are gonna go ahead, we're big fans of not doing dishes, if you can relate to that. So we're using the same baking sheet. We just pulled our chestnuts off, put them in a bowl. We did need to let them rest for about 10 minutes so that we didn't burn our hands. Unless you're a tiefling or you have some other ability that lets you be resistant to fire, I recommend you definitely let these rest for a while or you will burn yourself. So now we're gonna go ahead. We're just gonna put these out, let these roast a little bit. We're gonna get a little bit of that olive oil on here first, obviously. We don't really want to cook them just dry. So we did leave our oven on. We did go ahead and put our oven down a little bit. I don't know if you remember, we started at 425 for our chestnuts, but for this, we're just going to do a standard 350. So I'm going to drizzle a little bit of this oil.
Nice drizzle.
Thank you, Amy. Amy's actually the cook here, but you know,
you're doing an amazing job.
She's a mom. Her kids get like fancy snack packs. It's phenomenal. So we're gonna go ahead, put these back in, and we're gonna let those go for not too long. Our Brussels sprouts are probably only gonna take about 10 minutes. So in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and start peeling our chestnuts. So we did score them. As you remember, that makes them much easier to peel. And again, just keeps them from exploding in your oven. So we are going to go ahead and start peeling these. It should be pretty simple. If you're having a hard time, you actually can soak these before you even get started. So you can soak them before you score them. It'll make it a little easier to cut through the skin. And then it's also just going to make it a little easier to peel them after they come out of the oven, after they're roasted. So,
not gonna lie, peeling these, a little therapeutic.
It is very satisfying, honestly. All right, so we are back. We actually did not have our Brussels sprouts. These are full. So we did have to cook them a little bit longer than 10 minutes, but they're looking great now, right?
Absolutely, and they smell delicious. So whenever you're cooking them, one of the fundamental things to make sure that they are completely done is whether they're halved or whole, you want to make sure that a fork can pierce right through it. This is the true test that they are completely cooked through.
Is there a term for that?
Forked.
Just forked?
Yeah, you could just say forked.
I've heard it referred to as fork tender. But
fork
either
tender.
way, so we're going to go ahead. We're just going to scrape them off into our bowl, and some of them, they might land outside of the bowl, especially if you are cooking with Amy, but that's totally fine too. Mistakes happen. We can't always roll crit 20s. So now we do have all of our perfectly roasted Brussels sprouts in our bowl. We've also got our chestnuts perfectly roasted in a bowl. We're going to go ahead, start combining this. As you can see now, we're actually going to go ahead and bring our camera a little bit closer, see what it's looking like so far. So we do have them combined. If you do notice, we did go ahead, we kind of just pulled apart some of these chestnuts, nice golden pieces here, nice and soft, to put them in. And now we're gonna go ahead and season this. So we're gonna let Amy go ahead here, very basic. We're just gonna be using some regular or garlic olive oil.
And what I like about how they're just pulled apart is that it looks really rustic, right? It gives it kind of more of that rustic, earthy feeling.
Exactly. We're also going to be putting in some balsamic vinegar again, getting that rustic, earthy taste in here. Going to just kind of dump that over.
And I'd say a little goes a long way.
Yeah.
With balsamic vinegar, it's pretty thick and it spreads pretty well.
Exactly. And then, of course, we need some salt in there.
Always. Salt is life,
yes,
right?
Exactly. All right, perfect. So now we've got it salted, and then we are going to just mix this up. So let's go ahead and just combine this. Just kind of, again, get that balsamic glaze sort of shifted around. And then while we were on a little bit of a break, obviously not to be drinking any kind of alcoholic beverages, just a standard break, Amy mentioned the excellent opportunity to mix some cranberries into this as well. So you can kind of add your own flair and flavor to it if you want. For right now, we're going to leave it just like this though.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think?
It smells amazing. It looks delicious. I'm ready to eat it.
It smells great. Should we take a test?
100%.
You go first, Amy.
I'm going.
Ladies first, always. I'm a gentleman. Ooh, what do you think? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now it's time for my taste test. All right, let's see. I'm a picky eater, so if I like it, you know it's got to be good. Oh, if I can even get a bite. I'm a fork novice.
They run away from you. Yeah, it's good stuff.
All right, so in summary, what we just made today is the Brussels sprouts with chestnuts. How we did that, we did start by preheating our oven to 425. After that, we did go ahead, score those chestnuts so they don't explode, throw those in the oven for exactly 20 minutes, was honestly perfect. Once those come out, need to let them cool for about 10 minutes, but all of that time gives you plenty of time to prep your Brussels sprouts, get those off of the stalk, get them washed and prepped and ready to go into the oven. So as soon as you're starting on peeling those chestnuts, throw those Brussels sprouts right into your oven. Again, for us, it took a little bit longer, but typically about 15 minutes. We'll be fine to roast those. You'll want to drizzle with a little bit of olive oil. And then we were ready to just toss everything together, add that balsamic glaze, a little bit more olive oil, and salt to taste for you to have an amazing dish. But we did want to close with just 3 tips that we learned while we were making this.
Okay, one key takeaway was that soaking the chestnuts in water would make them easier to peel. So we definitely recommend next time, or what we would do next time, is soak those chestnuts so we can easily peel that extra layer off so that they come off more cleanly.
Exactly. And then our second takeaway, again, I mentioned that our Brussels sprouts took a bit longer than we expected because we roasted them whole. Definitely would cut those in half next time at the very least. It would save a ton of time in the oven, and it would just make it easier to eat, a little bit more bite-sized, a little more manageable when you are actually enjoying the dish.
Yeah, and I like to think about this recipe as a base for something a little bit more exciting. Don't be afraid to get creative and grab maybe some citrus. Add a little bit of lemon to it. It elevates the flavor, gives it a little bit more acid, and then makes it delicious. And then you could even go an extra step and add what I think tastes delicious are some cranberries.
Yes.
Got those dried cranberries in there. That tartness really elevates the flavor. So get a little bit of that chestnut, the Brussels sprout, and the dried cranberry, and you've got a great flavor altogether.
And honestly, the cranberries even make the dish look better. It gives it an extra pop of color, but still keeps the integrity of having that nice, hearty, earthy dish to bring to your gaming table. So thank you so much for joining us, adventurers. We can't wait to explore more recipes with you all. See you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.